The Gibson Les Paul was discontinued and replaced with the SG. Yep, that really happened. It was 1961, and the single cutaway Les Paul that we think of today would not return until 1968. Hard to imagine, isn't it? Well, this is the story of those dark times for the Les Paul and the surprising guitar hero that ushered in its return. The original Les Paul model was introduced in 1952, and it was a hit. Unlike other early solid-body guitars, the Les Paul retained some of the visual appearance, construction methods, and refined details of the hollow-body jazz guitars that were the typical electric guitars of that day. Les Paul was the guitar hero of the time, known for his masterful playing and his technical innovation. Gibson was the leading brand of the time, so the combination was powerful. Success seemed certain in the early days. The Gibson Les Paul was the top solid-body guitar on the market, but that was about to change. Guitar players' preferences started to evolve in the late 1950s. Fender guitars like the Stratocaster and Telecaster were gaining popularity due to their lightweight, contoured bodies, and brighter, more cutting tones. These attributes made them attractive to guitarists playing in the burgeoning rock and roll and surf music genres. Les Paul sales took a nosedive. Gibson felt they had to do something, but what? So here's where the story takes a dramatic twist. In 1961, Gibson decided to completely redesign the Les Paul, dropping the carved top single cutaway that we think of today and replacing it with the SG design. With its thinner body and two-horn shape, Gibson executives hoped it would be a more formidable competitor to Fender's Stratocaster. Sales doubled in the first year of the Les Paul SG, which suggests that Gibson made the right move. But here's the thing. Les Paul himself did not believe in the new design. He felt like it was too far from his original vision. So in 1963, he and Gibson parted ways. Les Paul's endorsement deal ending with Gibson meant that they could no longer use his name. So from that point on, the guitar was just called the SG. It's wild to think about, right? Starting in 1964, there was no Gibson Les Paul in production. As hard as it is to believe that the Les Paul was off the market, it's even harder to imagine the unexpected forces it took to resurrect this legendary instrument. Despite being out of production, those original Les Pauls were catching on with younger players who were starting to define a new music genre. The fuse was lit and aspiring rockers were on the hunt for a Les Paul. But of course, they had been out of production for over 5 years, so they were hard to find. Hence, this period started the vintage guitar collector's market. The management at Gibson seemed unaware of the groundswell, and rumor has it that they even considered stopping the production of all solid-body guitars during this period. Les Paul himself was hearing about the rising demand from music stores and young guitar players, in some cases knocking on his front door trying to find a Gibson Les Paul. Les decided it was time to reach out to Gibson and try to get them to bring back the Gibson Les Paul. In 1968, the single cutaway Les Paul made its triumphant return. As Gibson themselves verbalized in one of their ads, the demand for them just won't quit, and the pressure to make more has never let up. Okay, you win. The last line in this ad clearly reflects Gibson's newfound confidence in the Les Paul, adding, "Line forms at your Gibson dealer." That confidence was well-founded. Those budding guitar heroes went on to create multiple generations of rockers that decided that the Les Paul was the ideal instrument to get their sound. One of the most unexpected parts of the story is that Eric Clapton, the guy who's practically synonymous with the Fender Stratocaster, played a critical role in resurrecting the Les Paul. Most music historians would agree that the new tone and raw emotion he coaxed out of his Les Paul on the Blues Breakers' Beano album was what other players were chasing. Yep, you have Slowhand himself to thank for your Les Paul. Want to check out some other surprising stories from the guitar industry? Check this one out, I've got all queued up for you. Or if you want to hear about Gibson's biggest flop, the Firebird X, check this out. See you next time on No Fear Gear.